we have to go long. The market, especially on the 10,000 tick chart, strong move up, pulled back to the 38% Fibonacci. I did have a short here that I broke even on. It hit this red sell zone area on the 10,000 tick chart. Here you can see on the 1,000 tick chart how it worked out. I just shorted as soon as it started reversing with this pintail right underneath that candle, and it was going into my first target, and then it came up and stopped me out for break even. I was not going to lose any money on this. Very tight stop loss. A lot of times that can work against me, but it's a safer way to play it. And now we're looking for breakouts to the upside. Here I missed a momentum trade. I'm trying to let my price retest the trend lines. It's my favorite way to trade, but there are a lot of opportunities where you can get in at a very small risk with the stop loss under the momentum bars. And here's two ways that could have worked right here. I missed two momentum, and it's at the 38% pullback on that impulsive move up. And so we are looking for breakouts. We're looking because the market is going in the direction of the moving averages on the 10,000 tick chart. We are always following this direction on the 10,000 tick chart. The moving averages are going up and strong. We're looking for pullbacks to Fibonacci levels and to structure levels. All right, so right here was a pullback and a pullback. This was not a retest of the trend line breakout on this one, nor was it a retest of the trend line breakout on this one. So the retest doesn't always work if that's the way I wanted to trade. But then again, I missed a 3-to-1 return here and a 3-to-1 return here because the stop loss would have been right underneath the breakout candles, right underneath the breakout candles, maybe a 3 or 4 tick stop, where I could gain maybe a 12 tick return on that. So those are the two ways I like to play this: the momentum and the retest. All right, so when it breaks out here, what will I do? I'm not really sure on this one because now we have an overhead trend line that's close. Down here, we didn't have this trend line close. It was way up here. From this pivot here, the trend line was created. When it broke the trend line here, we had a lot of distance to that trend line. Now, when it breaks this trend line, we don't have very much distance to that trend line. Again, I could probably try to do a momentum trade underneath that candle, but now it's so far up. Now it's hitting the trend line. It moves so quick on momentum, you really got to be fast. You'd want to get in on that candle right there and ride it up as it goes. You move your stop right up to break even eventually, and you just sort of kind of wait for it to hit first target and take your profit or keep it on break even. So I'm watching that, and more than likely this is a momentum market, it really looks like. So it's hitting this pivot here. It's just in an area that I'm a little risky. It's going back up to test that resistance level, and it's a little too close to that. I'd like to see it break out of that resistance level and continue higher. It may continue to sell off, and what we probably should do is draw some resistance boxes here. This is where it sold off earlier. This is where it sold off at the highs. This is where it couldn't make it higher. Let's see if it breaks through this box, if it can get up on top of that and consolidate and push up higher. It looks like it wants to break out of this high right here. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. All right, it's just now hitting that area again. It did not make it. It went to the top of the box. This is a recent, really strong high pivot. It failed it at first. I did do the short, broke even on that, missed a couple Momo shots here to the upside, trend line break, momentum trades. Now it's coming back up to that same area where it failed earlier. So the option is to try and short it back down. I'm not really, pulling on that. I think it's going to break the high. I think it's going to go right over the high. We have a measured move a little higher up somewhere. There it is, right up there. Measured move up there. I think it wants to break the highs and go to that spot right there. So the question is, how can I get in? I might just be, either I'm not going to take a trade, or I'm going to have to take a momentum trade and keep my stop very, very tight. So those are the two ways I like to trade these trend line breaks. I don't think I'm going to take, I'd like to see it break right here, consolidate maybe, break right here, consolidate at this high, and either under or if it goes over the high, I need to see it retest that high. If it's under the high, I want it to consolidate, and there it goes, taking out the stops. All right, so it's too fast. I got to be able to get in. I can't just chase it. Now I want it to retest. I want it to come back and retest this red line or these pivots that it broke out from, preferably, either one's good. Inside this area right here, either the highs of today or the red line, which is the recent pivots. And that's the only way I could take this trade. I cannot just jump in there and take it after this. I just can't. Well, it's not coming down to the area of retest. I should try some type of momentum trade. I do have momentum strategies. I just don't practice them very much. There's a momentum strategy that once it touches the 8 EMA, that you use that pen tail as your stop loss. In other words, once it started turning green on the next candle, my stop loss is right here. I'm taking a momentum trade on this. But see, it broke the trend line, and which creates a newer pivot for the next trend line over. So now we got to draw the trend line like this from this area here to this new pivot. And you know how they grind lower, they can grind higher. When it breaks a trend line and keeps on going to the downside, grinding that lower trend line, it does the same thing when it's a strong momentum market going up, as we can clearly see. So who knows how far it's going to go? We do have our measured move at the top part, and here we can see that on the 15-minute chart right up here. And there's some resistance levels from a long time ago. These red dashed lines right here could serve as another place where it's going to correct a little bit before it keep going. How far will it correct? Will it give us a 38% correction like it did down here? A 38% correction was all it gave us on the Fibonacci move. Or will it finally come back and test this area of price, this red line? Will it come back here? That's what I'd like to see. I really want to see a deeper pullback down to this level, breaking a trend line down to this level, test this level down here, and break the trend line and come back up. That's what I'm waiting for. I really want to see that. Now, if it closes below the 8 EMA, we could try a trend line break and set up a very tight stop loss at that candle that breaks the EMA. But it's got to close. And it barely I can't tell if it closed below it or not. It looks like it did close below it. Now, if this candle fails right here, we could try to short this. But I don't know what this trend line is here. Usually it bounces on a trend line, and there's a trend line. It looks like it could bounce on that and keep right on going. So I better be careful about trying to short this thing when there's a trend line that it could bounce off of going this way. If it is going to go down, you'd want to see it put a lower high here and continue down under the 8 EMA. And it's not convincing enough here. Look at it, already created a higher high to this candle. So that's invalid now. But if it does create a lower high here and continues to close below the 8 EMA, if we find a narrow range bar, if this trend line wasn't in the way, we could short that. I can't go back and look at what that's there for, but trend lines cannot be ignored. They're very powerful. So we're still looking for an opportunity. This is a trend line break, but it's not a very deep pullback. A trend line break right here, this is what we're looking for. A trend line break to enter in. It's not a very deep pullback. It's not giving us very deep pullbacks, though. I mean, if we're waiting for a deep pullback, we might not get it until it's too late. Here's another momentum trade using the candle that broke as a stop loss. This candle is just too big. It's too big. Now here we go with another momentum possibility where you use this candle. If it doesn't come down too far, use this candle as the stop loss. And it's very tricky because, especially when you're at the high parts and resistance parts. And this box is showing us the edge of the resistance for some reason. Yeah, we got to be careful. Yeah, we want to see this breakout of this part now. We have to wait. You have to wait for it. Looks like if we did use this red bar pintail as our stop loss, we would have gotten in on this candle right here as it went over, and we could be moving our stop loss right now into break-even territory, hoping that just keeps flying right up. And that's the momentum strategy. It did retest the 8 EMA and started to produce a green candle. Now, that's where I can enter in when it starts turning green and go, okay, it's above the trend line. It retested. It's above the EMA. It's about to break out. It's pulled back very strongly a couple of times. It's probably going to keep doing that. Here's a red candle pullback. Just one candle, red bar ignored move here that could have really worked. And the more I observe this, the more I witness this, the more I prepare for this, the more ready I'll be to take these kinds of trades when they set up. Okay, I'm trying to test this right here. Let's see what happens. It's testing a trend line and the EMA.
Order filled.
I'm going to try to get in on this as a momentum play. And I'm going to put my stop right underneath that red candle that's developing. Just give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Hopefully it'll go right up. It's testing a trend line and it's testing the EMA, the 8 EMA. Now if it stops me out, I have a couple tick loss on it. I'm willing to take that chance here to test this. It's been momentum. Maybe the momentum's over, but if not, this is an area that it could go right. Okay, so there you go. I got a little loss on it. So that's the idea of the trading where it could have worked many times today. And it could be that, now's the time to do it. Maybe I did it too early. It's testing again, and now it's going back up. I don't want to try it again, because I really just had to get the courage to try it the one time. Doesn't matter if it failed. That's the idea behind the trade that I was talking about with these momentum trades that I missed a couple of times already. And at some point it may be hitting the high of the day. I don't know. Or it could just simply be that this is a head fake right here. It just went down a little bit too far. The idea was good, but it just stopped me out by one tick. So let's see, it probably was a good idea. Like if it continues up, I had the right idea, and I had my stop very, very tight though. And I don't care if it stops me out for I'm going to keep my stop tight on these. If we catch it, it's going to be worth having the stop outs sometimes. So that's the idea though. I'm pretty excited that I'm getting a little bit more brave to take it. I'm not afraid of getting stopped out on those little bitty stop outs. We have to eventually get better at our momentum trading. Here it would have worked perfectly. You see it bounced off the 8 moving average right here. And entering in on that would have been look at that beautiful move up, and several times. Right here's another try right here. Bounced off the 8 EMA. Put the stop loss right underneath it. It goes all the way up. So this is basically a momentum play off the 8 EMA. And this would, it almost worked. Maybe the fact that it didn't work here is telling us it's finally getting tired for the day. These choppy markets right here, it may take a while to get back, get the momentum back, or maybe the momentum's done for the morning. It's almost 11 o'clock Eastern time, so could be that the momentum's done, and I should have done this a lot earlier when I recognized the momentum. I did recognize the momentum. I did call that out. I was looking at those trades. I just didn't have the courage to take it at the time. I think next time, if I feel like I'm really identifying a positive momentum market, that I should just take that trade off the 8 EMA, keep the stop loss short, and don't be afraid. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get another trade here in a moment. I'm really eager to try it again. I think that I don't like the way these choppy bars are looking. It may work, but earlier when it was just going real fast and up, and it was real clean and real rhythmic, now it's really showing a different character right here. And it's not that it won't work. It's just I don't trust it as much. So we're going to do a pretend test here. And it would be underneath this bar right here, underneath these red bars right here. And you really can't get in it until it goes over the top. But look what's been happening in this area right here. This whole area here has been choppy with the markets. And it's still in that area where it's choppy. Here's a good test though. A test would be right here over that bar, hoping that it continues to go higher. It's got the 8 EMA. It looks like it might be picking back up. By market. Filled. Let's see if it keeps going. I'm going to move my stop loss up. It's trying to break out of that area. The idea is to just keep your stop loss very tight. And if it can't go, you see this, the top part of this box over here is very, very risky. It is a risky trade, I will say. And it's not really moving. I'm putting my stop right underneath that bar, and I'm just going to get out. It didn't go. If it breaks the bar down, it's just not going. See, there you go. Now keep going. Keep going. If it's momentum, it won't come back and stop me out on this bar right here. That's what you're trying to identify momentum. Right? So if it does come back and stop me out, the momentum is dying, and I wouldn't be surprised because You know, like I said, I drew this box where it's choppy. It's looking choppy. I took a chance. I'm kind of
Stop
there
filled.
you go. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not going to try it again in this area, but I did want to give it a shot and see if my analysis was correct. And here we go, bouncing off the 88 again, right there. Can it get over the top of this? Can it get over the top? I like to enter in, let's just make a note that I like to enter in when it's as close to the 8 EMA as possible. I got in on this breakout over here. I got in on the breakout part and not near the 8 EMA. That's what I need to work on. I don't want to take the breakout part unless, you know, like right here would have been better. With this box is right here near the 8 EMA. These pintails down here in this area right here, but I wasn't convinced that it was breaking out yet. Once I saw this move here up here, I shouldn't have just jumped in, although it might have worked. And see, here it goes. So the idea is good. It just had one last pintail move to the downside. That happened to me right here as well. So this is 2 times that I got shook out of this thing, and now it's going in the right direction. So that can happen. That can happen. And I'm okay with that because I'm on to something here. And if I can nail this down with precision, this is going to be a good technique. Momentum trading off the 8 EMA. This is the only time I saw that it actually broke the 8 EMA when I saw the opportunity. Here, I just didn't time it right. I got in at the breakout part. You can't really necessarily get in on these at the breakout part. The best way to get in on these is when the pintail develops at the 8 EMA. Like right now, it would not be a good idea. I should have waited for that to come back and test the 8 EMA and got in right there where I got stopped out. That's where I should be getting in, right there. Right there. And if I got in right there, and my stop was underneath this pullback, I would already be out of this trade. I would have, listen, that if I would have gotten in off the test of that 8 EMA, right there. Let's look at this. My stop would have been underneath that bar. And my target would have been 2 to 1 or 1 to 1. I would have hit 2 to 1 all the way up here. See? So that's the mistake I made on that trade right there. That was the mistake. I need to document that and pay close attention to get in at the 8 EMA. That's where the best price is. Trying again with the momentum play here. I really want to see if I can get this because it seems to be a very good strategy. I just looking for the pullback here to 50% on the 2000 tick chart. It didn't quite come back that far. Will we get a narrow range bar entrance on the 1000 here or not? It's not a very strong breakout. I'm not convinced by that breakout over that trend line. See that breakout over the trend line? It's not a very strong one here on the 2000 tick. It's not a very strong candle. I like where it's at on the moving average. It's on the 38%. It may be coming down to the 50 and 60%. We may get a grinder on this. It looks like a 1, 2, 3 pullback. It looks like a decent try, though. It looks like a good area. I could definitely try to get in as low as possible to this pintails, you know, like I've been saying, get as low as you possibly can and see if it's going to.
Order filled.
I guess I'll give it a shot right here because what's the plan? The plan is to see if I can use these pintails here as a stop loss. And so I got it right at the bottom of that. Break even. Here we're breaking even now. Hopefully it'll go. Hopefully it'll go.
Stop filled.
Yeah, broke even. Hopefully it'll go. I could have kept my stop a little bit further back, or I could have kept it down here. But as soon as it starts turning green, you know, I like to see. Let's see what happens here if I would have just kept it a little longer on down in this area right here. We entered in up here on this. I got 1 to 1 would have been somewhere in. It didn't quite get the 1 to 1, so it would have been somewhere in this area up here. And I guess I could try it again on this 8 EMA here. Problem is it's 11 o'clock, and I'm not sure if momentum's dying down. This looks like a really decent area, though, to do it. That was a break-even trade. It's off the 8 EMA here. I'll let you know if I do it or not. Okay, this one seems to be working out. We're break-even already. Right underneath that green candle there. I got my target up here. Hopefully it'll keep going and not come back and stop me out. But being in break even is better than being in a loss situation, right? So, either way, it's okay. We're learning here. I could just take whatever profit it gives me too. I really want it to keep going up though. At some point, if you catch one of these home runs like this, oh, here comes the red. So,
Stop filled.
all right, we broke even again on it, but that's 2 break even trades back to back. All I'm doing is paying these small little commissions for something that could potentially be really, really good. I got to fine tune the strategy. I got to get better. Now, if I would have kept my stop down here, I broke even on. Oh, actually, I broke even on this trade. Broke even on this trade. I'm breaking even every time it goes up. I'm breaking even. To me, that's better than losing, because all it's got to do one of these times is just not break me even and continue up. So let's say I break even on 10 trades and it hits a home run. I'm 10% correct on this. That one that makes it will outweigh the commission costs. It absolutely will. So I'm going to keep practicing. All right, speaking of momentum trades, it looks like it's picking the momentum back up here. I'm just going to see if I can do something on this trend line. Oh, there it goes without me. Breaking through that trend line. I wish I would have seen a narrow range bar or something that would give me a small stop loss that I could get in on that. I'm not interested in taking the first candle breakout on this, but if you do, the rule is keep your stop loss very, very tight and see if you can get in on a breakout of the candle. And you'd put your stop loss right underneath this candle that's turning red right now. Let's see if it goes back up. If it goes back up after testing, no, it broke back down with a lot of violence. It really just got shattered around there. Let's see what happens here. Any test of the 8 EMA and consolidation and a narrow range type of formation, a flag pattern, a consolidation pattern that takes place in this area coming close to the 8 EMA, as long as it continues to stay in the higher range of this little momentum move, once it breaks these 2 pivots here, I'm not interested in that same concept. The idea is not as strong to me. I really want to see, unless it comes down and slams into the 8 MA and then comes back up, and then that's the only way I would. If it closes below these 2 pivots here on these 2 candles, it's going to be a different kind of idea or setup or invalidate the idea that I'm thinking. Let's see where this 8 EMA is coming up here, this 8 EMA, and we got these highs right here that it wants to go over. It wants to go over these highs right here. It does. That's what it wants to do. All right, that's the target. So if we get in on a narrow range bar, that's what I'm going to try to do. But ominous now. See, it closed right down on that stuff. Man, I don't like these choppy markets. You want a breakout that looks like this. It looks like this. Of course, it did a overtake shadow red candle here right at the 8 EMA. Maybe that's what it's kind of trying to do here. If it keeps pushing down, though, it's going to invalidate the idea. We got a trend line coming up this way. It's touching the 8 EMA. Now's a good time to try to think about possibly going in that and using that bar as your stop loss.
Order filled.
Okay, I'm going to use that as my stop loss. Okay, I'm going to use that as my stop loss, the 8 EMA candle, bringing it up. It's looking weak. I should get out because it just doesn't look like it wants to go. I want to at least break even on this trade. Touching the 8 EMA after a move up like this, I think it's worth a shot. It pulled back to 50%, on that move. Going up another tick. As soon as it turns green, I'm going up tick by tick right along with it. Okay, it's not moving.
Order filled.
I'm getting out. I'm getting out because it's sitting there way too long, and maybe that's a mistake. I just have to get better at this, and maybe it'll go up now, but it's just going so slow. So I had 1 tick loss on that because I got impatient. I didn't want to wait for it to sit there all day. Let's see how that turns out. This is going to be my last attempt today. Now I got to journal everything. Okay, that was a good idea to get out with 1 tick on that because it would have been 3 ticks. I had my stop down below. I started turning green. I raised my stop loss. It stalled out. I closed the trade, and it would have stopped me out for a bigger loss. So the feeling of it had changed. It didn't continue up. It may go up now, but the strategy for this momentum trade requires that I buy at the 8 EMA. None of this would have worked right here. That's not, look at it, it's not momentum. Momentum is when price stays on one side of the 8 EMA. Okay, all these trades that I showed earlier were above the 8 EMA. and I'm going to make a video on that today. Once it breaks below there, you just don't have the required condition. The condition is not met for this particular trade. It was, and then it stalled. I got out. I'm happy about that. So now it's time to journal all my trades for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully, Lord willing. Peace.